one. Yeah? Well, he won't get away from me! Huh? Why, you little...
Take it easy. I think we can...
You ever go back and watch a show that you loved as a kid only to realize that, as an adult, the show is borderline impossible to watch? Yeah, that's me and Sonic X, and I suspect that's the same with many fans of this show. It's a love-hate relationship, which actually describes being a Sonic fan in general. Huh. If you excuse me, I need to contemplate this. Editor, if you could, can you play the opening to Sonic X? Preferably the Japanese version. You can? Let's begin. And we're done. Sorry, as much as the fandom loves the Japanese opening, we have some copyright issues. I'd rather not have a copyright strike so early in my career, so let's go over the plot. And we have our first issue. See, I initially wanted to do an in-depth look of the show, similar to how Linkara does his History of Power Rangers. The problem is that due to copyright, that's not really viable. Instead, I will be doing a highly condensed summarization of the plot. I apologize for this change in storytelling, but that's just the nature of the beast. With that out of the way, time code for those who want to get to the fun that is for kids. For everyone else, let's begin. Our story begins with Big the Cat fishing, until he is woken up. Turns out Sonic and the gang are conducting a raid on Eggman's base. More specifically, it's a rescue operation since Cream the Rabbit and Cheese the Chow are kidnapped. Tails and Amy are shot out the sky, but are saved by Knuckles, who laments just how Sonic is going overkill like always. Don't ask, it's poorly explained. Despite all the defenses, Sonic makes it to Eggman. Eggman explains that he has the upper hand in the situation, something made even more relevant as a robot sneaks up behind Sonic. Despite this, Sonic outwits the robot, causing it to shoot Eggman's machine. This is further not helped that Eggman has pressed the button, causing Chaos Control to activate. The resulting event causes Sonic to be knocked out for a moment. Sonic ponders where he is before he gets assaulted by Light, and we learn that Sonic has been transported to our world. After a scuffle with the police, the authorities decide to call in the S-Force, a special group of officers that use Formula 1 race cars to catch criminals. Before you ask, yes, they do lampshade just how stupid this concept is, with the leader of the group saying that how this force has been hemorrhaging money, and how they've only had one incident this month. Also, the leader's name is Sam Speed. We haven't finished the first episode. Time code just in case. Anyway, Sonic races the group and shows them why he's the fastest thing alive. Sam watches as Sonic races through the air. What Sam doesn't see is Sonic fall into his greatest weakness, water. Fortunately, or unfortunately depending on who you ask, Sonic has fallen into the swimming pool of the show's main character, Chris Thorndike. What, you thought Sonic X was about Sonic? No, of course not, fool. It's about Chris Thorndike. After fishing Sonic out, the two exchange names. The very next day, Chris offers hospitality by giving Sonic cat food.
Meow?
His reasoning is that Sonic is a hedgehog and hedgehogs eat cat food according to the internet. Sonic makes it known that this is not what he eats and decides to leave. Chris begs him not to, and we later see Sonic eating hamburgers. The two watch the news and learn that Sonic's little incident has caught everyone's attention, with many wondering if Sonic is a robot. We then see Grandpa Chuck, I said grandpa, not uncle, walk in to talk with Chris. After a misunderstanding with a screwdriver, this is starting to sound like the weirdest episode of Law & Order SVU. Chuck realizes that Sonic is a living being. At the same time, we also learn that Cream and Cheese were also transported to this world. After learning of their location, the group set out to save the two by raiding Area 99, not to be confused with Area 69 that was raided by Carl Johnson, or with Area 51 that was almost raided by the Akatsuki. At first, everything is going well until Sonic gets caught. Thankfully, Tails was also teleported to this world and causes a distraction that allows Sonic, Cream, and Cheese to escape. With most of the gang back together, Sonic and Tails begin to wonder if anyone else was teleported to this world. This question gets answered when the group sees Eggman attacking Station Square to establish his Eggman Empire. For you see, it matters not where Eggman is, just that he can form his empire. The gang speed off to fight Eggman, and we soon learn Amy and Knuckles are in this world. One fight later, and Eggman is defeated. The victory is short-lived as the government finds the group a threat and opens fire. Thanks to Tails, Sonic and his friends make a speedy retreat. As the group flies off, Knuckles bids the group farewell and goes off on his own for reasons. It's poorly explained. Let's just use his adventure lyrics to explain why he does anything. Here I come, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them, tougher than leather. You can call me Knuckles, unlike Sonic I don't chuckle, I'd rather flex my muscles. Well, it's better than nothing. Back at the mansion, Sonic and the gang explain to Chuck and Chris about the Chaos Emeralds and Chaos Control. If the group wants to go home, they need to find the emeralds. Obviously, we get an episode of the gang finding a Chaos Emerald, and with that, our starting arc is complete. From here, the show basically follows the group on their adventures in this world. We get everything from Tails turning the tornado into a VF-1 Valkyrie, a battle between Knuckles and Sonic, Eggman hijacking a school, and the infamous baseball episode to name a few. And before you ask, yes, these episodes are connected, even if their premises seem random. While Sonic and the gang are having their adventures, the government is also interested in what's going on. Initially, this just pertains to a spy named Mr. Stewart acting as Chris's teacher, to eventually the government trying to recruit Sonic. While the government doesn't get Sonic, they do get in contact with Rouge the Bat. Working with government agent Topaz, Rouge and the military infiltrate Eggman's base. This proves useful a few episodes later as the government mounts an attack on Eggman's base. Goes about as well as you can expect. Despite the prior infiltration and some surprise assistance from Knuckles, the US military proves no match for Eggman. It isn't until Sonic arrives does the battle turn in their favor, with Eggman being defeated. This doesn't last. Eggman reveals he has a backup plan and uses said plan to attack Station Square, and yet again he is defeated. What follows is a bunch of random adventures that range from a budget Captain Planet episode to a pretty decent Knuckles episode and a episode dealing with Tanaka's connection with the Chow. Eventually, 6 of the 7 Chaos Emeralds are found. Knuckles realizes that everyone needs to work together if they want to go home. Chris also has a realization that if Chaos Control is activated, it will mean that Sonic and his friends will return to their homeworld. This upsets Chris dearly, but he realizes this is for the best. Remember that. After having a talk with Knuckles, Chris steals the emeralds they have so Eggman can use the emeralds to create Chaos Control. Guess what happens next? Yep, didn't see that happening. With Chris kidnapped, the 6 emeralds in his grasp, and the 7th not too far off, Eggman prepares himself to take over the world. Standing in his way is Sonic and an upgraded military. Yeah, because of all the fights that's been going on, the military took it upon themselves to reverse engineer Eggman's weapons, something that angers Eggman. Despite the combined efforts of the US military and Sonic, Eggman is able to get the 7th Chaos Emerald, powering his mech to levels that wipes out the US military and nearly defeats Sonic. This beatdown of his friend causes Chris to break his restraints and grab the Chaos Emeralds. This act weakens Eggman enough that Knuckles is able to return to save Chris, though not before Rouge takes Chris as a means to get the emeralds. Not that it matters, as Chris drops the emeralds into the sea, where Sonic happens to be. With the power of the 7 emeralds, Sonic becomes supersonic and defeats Eggman. At the same time, another Chaos Control happens. Everyone watches and waits to see what happens. Chris begs Sonic to take him with him. However, despite Chaos Control happening, Sonic and the gang aren't sent back home. Rather, parts of Sonic's world appears on Earth, especially the Master Emerald. We watch as Eggman reads a tablet, ending Season 1. Season 2 starts a few months later. Amy and Tails have moved out, Sonic is doing his own thing, and Cream is still at the Thorndike residence. Chris wonders what everyone is doing, and soon enough, the plot of Sonic Adventure 1 starts. It has everything from the Master Emerald being destroyed, Sonic and Tails being shot from the sky, Amy helping a bird, Gamma getting an existential crisis, and Chris and Big looking for Froggy. 6 episodes later and Chaos is defeated by Supersonic. Look, if you want a more in-depth look at the story, look at my Sonic Adventure review. The story's about the same. Anyway, with all this happening, the US government takes it upon themselves to start full production of combat robots based on Eggman's designs. Eggman is not happy of this and decides to toy with the government by deleting the files. As he's going through the archives, Eggman finds a file by Gerald Robotnik, aka his grandfather. The presence of this file makes Eggman realize he was born in this world. Before you ask, no, nothing comes from this revelation. Intrigued by this file, Eggman cracks the password, setting off an alarm. Acting fast, Eggman copies the file while deleting the rest. This causes concern for the government, for you see, no one has been able to open the document in 50 years, meaning no one knows what's in it. What's more, the 13th president, we'll say Millard Fillmore, had everything related to Project Shadow redacted and destroyed. If that isn't enough, there's a Shadow group that's doing everything in their power to make sure no one knows anything about Project Shadow or the Space Colony Arc. With this in mind, the president has Rouge and Topaz find a way to retrieve the documents from Eggman, while Agent Stewart looks for any individuals connected to the incident on the Ark. This leads to Stewart meeting with Scarlet Garcia, a reporter who up until this point was something of a side character that reported on the battles between Eggman and Sonic. As it turns out, Scarlet Garcia has a background with Project Shadow, as her father was killed trying to find out more of the project. Meanwhile, Topaz and Rouge capture the Master Emerald as bait for Eggman, only for Knuckles to destroy it. And just like that, the adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2 begins, and just like before, it's basically the same as the game. We see Sonic get confused for Shadow, a raid on Prison Island, Sonic cheat debt in space, and eventually the Bio-Lizard defeated thanks to a sacrifice by Shadow. Where Sonic X differs is with Chris and the whole Shadow government thing. Yeah, before this whole arc began, Chris was moved to, I guess, San Francisco for reasons. I don't know, the show never explains why he's moved. Regardless, it's implied that because of Chris, Sonic allows himself to be arrested, which has him sent to Prison Island, which requires the breakout followed by Chris trying to help break out Sonic that results in Chris being captured, causing Shadow to slowly remember Maria because Chris reminds him of Maria. That ends with Shadow becoming good. You got that? Good. I was afraid I'd have to repeat myself. With all that taken care of, the story continues as Eggman repairs the moon because, he destroyed... There was an announcement and everything. The president demands to know why, with Eggman simply stating he wants to make up for causing so much damage. The apology is accepted until the moon starts moving and blocking the sun. When asked about this, Eggman states that the moon is going haywire. Until he can get it fixed, he offers to provide sunlight by redirecting the sun to a collection station so that light can be distributed via special orbs. That, of course, everyone is expected to buy. Everyone is accepting of this except Sonic, who goes about destroying the sun collectors. The government is surprised by Sonic's actions, believing Sonic to have been an ally. Rouge explains that Sonic was never really their friend, it was just that their goals lined up. Since they are now working for Eggman, their goals now conflict with Sonic's. The government tries to stop Sonic and have him explain what's going on. Sonic does just that and points out that before all this happened, the moon was not reliant on any technology due to gravity and how orbits worked. Even fixed, the moon should be working on the same principles because, gravity and orbits. Long story short, Eggman is doing this deliberately, which is confirmed later on when Eggman tries to coup the government thanks in part to his light orbs that apparently send out subliminal messaging. The coup is short-lived and Eggman is sent to jail, which doesn't last long. I would also point out we have more characters like Vanilla the Rabbit, Cream's mom, appear along with the Chaotix. They don't really amount to much. The Chaotix are here because Sonic Heroes came around the same time as the show's first run. Which leads into our next character, Emerl. Yeah, during one of the prison escapes, Bokun the messenger robot tried to free Eggman with the help of a robot he found. The attempt failed and Cream later found Emerl. At the same time, a martial arts competition was being held because, Sonic Battle came around the same time. No word on Goku's location. I hear it was because he was disqualified for time reasons. The arc is only 2 episodes long and Goku on average takes longer to win his fights. After some rather pointless fights, Emerald wins, his prize being a Chaos Emerald. However, because of the power of the Emerald, Emerald goes crazy. Everyone tries to stop the robot, but unable to since Emerald's main power is to copy abilities. Cream and Cheese enter the fray. As it turns out, Emerald can't really copy 2 people at the same time and is promptly defeated by Cream and Cheese. It's a sad moment since Emerald was close friends with Cream and Cheese. We get a pointless 2-episode arc that talks about an ancient civilization. It really goes nowhere and it's just to pad out the story before the finale. So now we reach the Season 2 finale. It's revealed that at one point in the past, Earth and we'll say Mobius were one. Something happened resulting in the 2 planets to separate and exist in 2 dimensions. However, because Sonic and the gang are here, more and more parts of Sonic's world is merging with Earth, including the timeline. Unless everything from Mobius is returned, then the timelines will merge, stopping time, because the timelines will cancel each other out. It's poorly explained. Just assume that if Sonic and the gang don't return to their world, Dio Brando will win, and we can't let that happen. Chris can't accept this and goes to Eggman thinking this is one of his plans. Eggman humors Chris but ultimately tells the boy that this is not his doing. He also points out that the only reason Chris is unhappy about this is without Sonic, Chris's life would go back to the way how it was before. No more adventure, no more special treatment, just the sad reality of being the son of wealthy parents who love him very much. So everyone collects the Chaos Emeralds and a Stargate is made. Unfortunately, Emeralds don't have enough power to charge the device, though thanks to a jumpstart from the Space Colony arc, the gate is operational. One by one, everyone leaves for Mobius. Sonic is the last to go. Let's be real, we all know what's going to happen next. Chris turns the device off, runs off with Sonic, and almost causes the end times. While this is happening, Sonic tells Chris he doesn't have to leave if Chris doesn't want him to. However, Chris realizes this is not the right thing and tells Sonic to go home. Before Sonic leaves, Sonic ponders if perhaps their worlds are supposed to be together, and that maybe one day they'll meet each other again. Sure, why not? Chris is found, but not Sonic. We're soon in Sonic's world. Eggman is bored and wants to defeat the Hedgehog, but seeing no proof of Sonic, he just decides to cause some mischief. Tails fights the good doctor, and we soon see Sonic return, much to everyone's surprise. All is well. Back on Earth, it's been 6 years. In 6 years, Chris has made a name for himself. He's done things ranging from learning martial arts, how to fly a plane, and the soul-crushing realization that working at McDonald's is a terrible idea. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. Anyway, we soon learn that apparently Sonic has always had the Chaos Emeralds and doesn't need the machine to travel worlds. We then see that Chris has built a copy of the Stargate and somehow gets it to work so he can visit Sonic one last time. You would think that after everything that has happened, Chris should have learned that using portals to mess with the space-time is a bad idea. But nope, he does it anyway and we get Season 3. A bad idea. So Season 3, A Bad Idea, starts with Sonic fighting a robot in space. The robot demands the Chaos Emeralds, with Sonic deciding to release the emeralds into space. This causes Sonic to lose his super form and fall back to his planet. The robot is not amused and informs his troops to find the emeralds. Back on Mobius, Tails, Cream, and Amy are stargazing when a star falls from the heavens. At the crash site, the three are surprised to see an alien inside. After some time, the alien wakes up demanding to speak with Sonic. Meanwhile, in one of Eggman's bases, Sonic is waking up. Eggman explains that while he was out for a jog, he came upon Sonic's comatose body. Being a good Samaritan, for some reason, Eggman healed Sonic. Sonic runs off, and just in time, one of the robots arrives and attacks. Oddly though, it doesn't outright destroy Sonic, but instead takes some crystal from the planet before leaving. Everyone is confused and soon watch as the plants start to die. The alien, who is named Cosmo, explains that the robot is a Metarex and has taken a planet egg. Without a planet egg, all life on a planet dies. Cosmo goes on to explain that the Metarex have done this to many planets, hers being one. It's then that the main character arrives. That's right, folks, Chris has finally returned. So the machine that Chris made resonated with the Master Emerald, allowing Chris to arrive on Mobius. Everyone is actually quite surprised to see Chris, congratulating him on making the device work in 6 months. Chris corrects them by stating it's been 6 years since everyone left. Yeah, so 1 month in Sonic's world is 1 year in our world. That actually makes sense, I think. Anyway, after getting new old clothes from Vanilla the Rabbit, no idea why she has those, Chris decides to do what he can to help. The first problem is going after the Metarex. Thankfully, Tails has a spaceship for just such an occasion. Don't ask! However, the ship needs Chaos Emeralds. Logically, the group decides the best course of action is to steal the Master Emerald. Knuckles is unhappy but allows it because of the situation. The gang flies off in their knockoff space battleship Yamato, the Blue Typhoon. They're not alone as Eggman follows the group to do his own evil things, and is tailed by Rouge, who wants the emeralds. What follows is the gang going from planet to planet trying to stop the Metarex. Eventually we learn that Shadow has survived, and Eggman somehow saved him. Chris's family and friends are trying to reach him, but can only send luggage. The Chaotix eventually get involved because of said luggage. The Metarex are making clone emeralds. Little plot lines don't really go anywhere, or at the very least, they don't elaborate on them. Like, we have one episode where Sonic lets out his inner demons and just goes to hell on the Metarex. Then Eggman scolds Sonic and nothing comes from this. Like, this should be an examination of Sonic, but instead it's just a small event that gets lost to time. Eventually we get some character development. Tails and Cosmo soon gain feelings for each other, with many in the cast pushing the two together. However, this relationship and indeed trust in Cosmo soon becomes strained when Shadow decides to kill Cosmo. Initially everyone is confused, wondering why on Mobius is Shadow doing this. Eventually they learn why. As it turns out, Cosmo is secretly an agent for the Metarex, or more accurately, the Metarex placed a bug on Cosmo that allows them to see and hear everything Cosmo sees and hear. Removing the device is impossible, for it will render Cosmo blind and deaf. We soon learn that the connection between Cosmo and the Metarex is actually closer than one expects. As it turns out, the Metarex are in fact the same species as Cosmo. See, many years ago, Cosmo's race, let's just call them the Seedriums, were at war. It's never stated who, but given that it was against an animal species, I have an idea. As the war went on, the species became split. The males wanted to keep on fighting for the planet, while the females wanted to leave. The split became official when Earthia, the main female Seedrian, found Lucas, her husband and the main male Seedrian, harnessing the power of the planet egg to increase their own power at the cost of the planet's life. The females built a ship and left the males to their war. In the end, only 5 of the males survived to become the Metarex, with Lucas becoming Black Oak, the leader of the Metarex. Before you ask, the other Metarex are robots at the General's command. The Generals aren't even robots, they're just in power armor. We also learn why the Metarex want the planet eggs. By collecting the power of the eggs and Chaos Emeralds, the Metarex hope to create a weapon that can destroy all animal life so plant life can reign over the galaxy. The gang set out to destroy this weapon. This leads them to the planet of Aquarius at the center of the galaxy. There, the gang fight the Metarex and seemingly get the upper hand. However, the Metarex absorb the energy of the emeralds, turning the planet into a giant seed. The drained emeralds are collected, and Eggman posits that by using the power of their ships, they can recharge the emeralds. I should point out that the Master Emerald was out of commission due to it being shadowed before the initial attack on the Metarex. Before the emeralds can be recharged, the weapon is complete and begins to slowly kill everyone, except Cosmo. Because she's a plant being, Cosmo is immune to the effects of the weapon. With the emeralds in hand, Cosmo tries to recharge them only to be stopped by Black Oak. This proves to be Black Oak's undoing as the emeralds fly off into space and interact with the planet eggs. The weapon is stopped and the emeralds are recharged. Acting quickly, Sonic and Shadow go super and attempt to defeat the weapon. Problem now is that the Metrics now have a new plan. If they can't control the galaxy through plants, they will destroy it. Sonic and Shadow are pinned by a gravity wave fighting back against the weapon. Everyone is worried. They need to stop the weapon fast. The problem is that with no energy, they can't get past the gravity well. It's here that Cosmo learns of her destiny as the one to stop the Metrics. She flies off into space and past the gravity well.
Because she's immune or something.
And turns into a tree to hold the weapon down. Sonic and Shadow return to the Blue Typhoon and prepare themselves to be fired from its wave motion cannon. Tails, at the controls, is conflicted. Cosmo was the love of his life, and now he has to sacrifice her. Cosmo tells Tails to not worry, that this is destiny. And something about reseeding the galaxy or something. Look, I've already said it's poorly explained too much in this review. Just roll with it. Tails pulls the trigger, saving the galaxy but killing Cosmo. As the weapon is destroyed, Shadow knocks Sonic out before activating Chaos Control, giving everyone time to escape before the weapon explodes. The planet eggs fly from the weapon, returning to their planets. Sonic returns to give Tails a seed he found, the last remaining part of Cosmo. Tails cries. Back on Mobius, life is returning to normal for the most part. Rouge is concerned for Shadow, wondering if the Black Hedgehog survived. Eggman is rather nonchalant about it, telling Rouge to not worry. Rouge is not convinced and suspects Eggman knows something. Another person having concern is Chris. He has no real method to return to his home and for the time being is considering staying on Mobius. That is until he receives a letter from Eggman. The good doctor explains that he has a one-way ticket for Chris to return home. He has to act now or he won't be able to return. Something to do with the alignment with the dimensions and how it's not known when this alignment will happen again. He also points out that he has no idea what will happen to Chris's body. Despite everything, Chris decides it's for the best and takes the ticket. It's a somber moment as Chris leaves without saying goodbye. Through the port window, Chris watches as Sonic speeds by. The two have one last look at each other before Chris leaves Mobius. Eggman laughs, happy to see one of his enemies gone. The camera cuts to the different characters as they prepare for Eggman's next plan. The last image is that of Cosmo's seed, sprouting. Oh boy, was this a trip down memory lane. Unfortunately, it's less of rolling around at the speed of sound and more like a pretty poor roller coaster that's met the end of its time. Some things are good, some things are bad. I guess it's best we start with the writing. From the outset, Sonic X has an interesting premise. Sonic, along with his friends and enemies, have been teleported to a new world, our world. How does everyone react? How does the government react? What new allies and enemies will the group find in this strange new world? Initially, it's rather well done. You have an ongoing story of Sonic and Eggman racing for the emeralds while the government tries to figure out what's going on. It's a story that builds on itself, and then it stops, or more accurately, it changes its storytelling method. For the first 13 episodes, there's an ongoing series of escalations. We see as Sonic, Eggman, and the government slowly prepare for a large battle, one we eventually see play out in episode 13. We see that progression and escalation of conflict. In fact, I would not blame you if you thought episode 13 was the last episode. It ties up the series quite nicely.
But just when you think it ends, it keeps on going!
From episode 15 to the season 1 finale, the plot structure of the series changes. No longer do we see an escalation of conflict. Now it's just self-contained stories that have little to no connection with each other. Take episode 18, The Dam Scam. It's an episode where Sonic, Tails, and Chris crash land in the savannah after fighting Eggman. The big plot of the episode? Two scam artists are building a dam in the middle of the savannah. It's causing problems for the animals, and Tails and Chris put a stop to the dam's construction. That's it. No Chaos Emeralds, no real character growth, nothing. The only real thing we learn in this episode is how Sonic and Tails first meet, which, to be fair, is a rather important footnote, but why is it tied to this budget Captain Planet episode? Why here and not in the Sonic Adventure adaptation where it appeared in the games? Or how does this connect with episode 19, Sonic's Scream Test, the ghost episode where we meet King Boom Boo? Hey wait, aren't you supposed to be in Sonic Adventure 2? And this trend continues for 5 episodes. Nothing really happens, to the point you can practically skip these episodes and not lose anything story-wise. It's odd since episodes 15, 16, and 17 do have some plot relevance. 15 has Eggman return, 16 we find a Chaos Emerald, and episode 17 is one dedicated to Knuckles. It also hints at some implications of Earth's history. It's also one of my favorite episodes. I highly recommend watching it. But after this, it's nothing but filler. Even episode 23, an episode where we find a Chaos Emerald, feels like filler, and it doesn't get much better by the end. You would think with the season finale where all 7 Chaos Emeralds are found, we get this epic battle where Sonic and the military fight Eggman and his army, but no. It's just Eggman and a robot fighting at a harbor and gets defeated by Sonic. compared to episode 13, it's forgettable. Season 2 starts strong with 12 episodes that adopt the Adventure series. They even add in some extra information not present in the games when they adopt SA2, and do, in my opinion, a good job of working Chris into the plot of that game. But once those 12 episodes are over, the story drops in quality, and never really recovers. When I talked with my brother about the story of Sonic X, he said it sounds like the show was trying to be a bunch of different shows. It wants to be everything from an episodic to serial to saga-based show, trying each show at least once, but never really committing. At the end, you end up with a show that has no idea what it's trying to be. It's sad because they had some interesting ideas. Throughout the first 2 seasons, we get implications of there being a connection between Mobius and Earth. The Chow, for instance, are shown to exist on Earth and have been for generations, or perhaps the Shovel Claw, an Echidna artifact that has somehow been found on Earth. In the first episode, Knuckles recognizes Chaos Control, and we know his tribe liked war, so maybe the ancient Echidna fought early man? The show offers hints to deeper lore, but goes nowhere with it. It's kind of like the saying you hear about improv classes: never say no, always add on to a scene. Sonic X sees the scene and, promptly ignores it. A good example is the revelation of Eggman's history. We're told that Eggman is from Earth, not Mobius. Okay, so how did Eggman end up on Mobius? Did Gerald conduct Chaos Control? If he did, how did he get a hold of the Chaos Emeralds? These are questions that are never answered. In fact, I kind of wonder if the whole merging of the timeline thing at the end was supposed to be some kind of explanation for these plot holes, but I highly doubt that. You may have noticed I have neglected to talk about Season 3, the season that everyone talks about being the high point of the show. To be honest, it's overhyped. To be fair though, I did skim through Season 3. I was behind schedule, and simply watching Season 3 like this not the best way to watch the season, so a lot of this I had to go off of memory when I watched this as a child. Again, not the best idea, but here's the thing. I can remember the plot for Seasons 1 and 2 before starting this review. Season 3, on the other hand, yeah, it comes up blank. I really couldn't remember much of the story, and on my more recent skim viewing, I think I can see why. There really isn't anything to make these episodes unique or connected. Most of Season 3 involves the characters flying from planet to planet fighting the Metarex, and that's about it. Now, there are a few episodes, I think like 4 that I really remembered, outside of the opening and the finale. These episodes are the Lucky Charms episode where we see the start of the Cosmo and Tails shipping, the episode where Amy, Cream, and Cosmo fight a Metarex, the episode where Shadow tries to kill Cosmo, and the rather infamous Molly episode. That's about it. Part of the problem, I think, is burnout. After going through Seasons 1 and 2 and seeing the Season 2 finale, I was alright with the show ending, but then Season 3 starts and it's just...
oh shit, here we go again.
The other problem is that Season 3 can be best summarized as Sonic X Space Battleship Yamato. Don't believe me? Let's see. We have a flying battleship with a wave motion cannon, a journey to save the planet on a limited time, a friendly species that just so happens to be the same species as the antagonist. Do I really need to say more? Oh, and look, they're not even trying to hide the fact. That's the Space Battleship Yamato. What I'm trying to say is that Season 3 is pretty much a different show. It's all right, but not as good as what came before. Honestly, I have no idea why people put this season on such a high pedestal. It's practically a ripoff of a better anime. Plot aside, let's look at the characters and see how they are written and depicted, starting with Sonic. He was interesting. I got 2 readings from Sonic. Either A, he's a good-hearted yet unpredictable trickster-like character, or B, a force of nature that does what he wants. Here's what I mean. Throughout the early seasons, we see Sonic flip-flop from either sleeping on the roof of the house to running around and exploring the world. It makes me wonder if the reason Sonic does anything is because he is bored. Now, when Eggman gets involved, Sonic does do what he can to stop Eggman, often with a cavalier-like attitude. It's an observation you don't see in the game. Since you're playing as Sonic, you just assume that he's the good guy. The show clarifies that as saying, yeah, Sonic is a good guy, he just does things his way. What I found most intriguing about Sonic was how everyone talked about him. Early on, I brought up how the government was confused about Sonic, how their ally could just turn on them, that Rouge has to explain to them that Sonic does what he feels like doing. The other characters clarify this as well. Chris, for instance, often wonders what Sonic does all the time, only for Tails to comment that Sonic does what he feels like doing, followed by Amy bemoaning the fact that Sonic never does anything with her. One element I would have liked to have seen expanded on is what fans called Dark Sonic. In Season 3, Chris and Cosmo are tortured. Seeing his friends in such a state angers Sonic to the point he enters a rage form. It's only present for a brief moment, but it almost implies that Sonic has some sort of deep-seated anger he has to control. Then again, there were fake emeralds, so maybe the anger Sonic had was unnatural or perhaps exasperated by the negative energy of the fake emeralds. Still, would have been interesting to explore this avenue of Sonic. If there's any consistent thing about Sonic, it's that he is helpful to his friends, whether it be learning about confidence in oneself or how to live after sacrificing your one true love. Sonic always seems to be there to offer some words of comfort. The rest of the characters don't really have this same kind of development or deep personality, save one, but we'll get to him later. Tails was he doesn't do much other than provide air support for the group. They state he's an inventor, but this is never really shown on screen except maybe once or twice. If anything, Tails is more of an explainer. If something happens, it's usually Tails who explains concepts like the Chaos Emeralds or how things work on Sonic's world. Season 3 kind of changes Tails by giving him a love interest, or at the very least some puppy love in the form of Cosmo. Amy wasn't much better. She usually pines after Sonic, often complaining that Sonic doesn't go on dates with her. The usual stuff she's known for in the games. However, they do show that Amy is more than willing to assist in a fight. I mean, she still gets caught, but not without going down fighting. One thing I did note about Amy was how of Sonic's group, she was about the only one well adjusted to Earth. She also has an initiative to do things like get Chaos Emeralds. I thought that was interesting. Knuckles doesn't do much, or more accurately, we don't see Knuckles all that often. He's usually shown wandering the world trying to find a way home so he can protect the Master Emerald, but once he's reunited with the Emerald, he still seems to be wandering around. I think they were trying to imply he was some wandering samurai kind of character. It doesn't take. What I find interesting about his character is what the English dub added. Apparently the reason he's so trusting of Eggman is because he sees the good in Eggman and wants to give him a chance. It's an interesting take on Knuckles, implying he has a heart of gold. I like that. Shame it's only present in the 4Kids dub. Rouge was an interesting case. In the game, she doesn't appear until Sonic Adventure 2, so to see her early was kind of a surprise. And honestly, she acts like how you expect. She's flirtatious to the max. I will say, she does work well as an opposite to Topaz. Shadow's... well, he's Shadow. He's basically dark and edgy until his redemption in Season 2, and then becomes a neutral force on his return in Season 3. There's really not much to say about him. He's there, and then he's not. Cream and Cheese, let's just say they two don't really do anything. The show kind of implies that they're damsels in distress since, well, that's what they were for the first couple of episodes, but that's about the only time they're used as such. I do like that they used Cheese as an early hint to Chaos's connection to the Chow, and it was interesting to see the two take the fight against Emerl, but outside of this, they really don't do anything. Eggman was a mixed bag. Early on, he's just a generic villain. I almost got a Power Rangers vibe from him, but as the series goes on, we see that Eggman is rather opportunistic. He always seems to have some sort of backup plan, even if he's winging it. What really makes this depiction of Eggman is his insight and observation. The show kind of implies that Eggman knows more than he lets on. Oh, don't get me wrong, he's often a bumbling fool who thinks highly of himself, but it's also shown that if he needs to be, he can be serious. In a way, he's kind of a dark foil to Sonic. One is a force of nature, the other is a force of science. Just kind of wish he was more villainous, as is, he's more of a comedic villain. And before you ask, Boku, Deku, and Bokun are alright. They're basically comic relief. The rest of the cast are side characters, most of which are only present in seasons 1 and 2. Characters like Topaz and Grandpa Chuck I like. They interact well with the main cast, and I kinda wish we saw them more. But then you have characters like Tanaka and Ella who make you wonder, why are they here? I mean, I get Tanaka, he was probably added to appease to the Japanese audience, but Ella? But then you have characters like Sam Speed and Chris's friends, where the show doesn't really utilize them well or writes them poorly. Sam Speed in particular is billed as this rival for Sonic, but they don't do much with him outside of one episode, though I will say he is far worse in the Japanese dub. Chris's friends are even worse. Of the three, I only recognize Helen, and that's because she had an episode with Sonic, but Francis and... no, it's not Token, that's South Park. What's that name? Ah, I see, Danny.
I can't even remember their names.
Next up is Cosmo. Look, I know fans love Cosmo as a character. She's a love interest for Tails, but that's it. She doesn't really do anything. In fact, her whole saving the galaxy bit at the end feels forced. It's like she was meant for a different show. Then there's Chris's parents. The show can't tell if the two are busy with work and can't make time for Chris, or they can make the time, it's just that they're wrapped up in their work. In the final episode, Chuck makes the comment that the two should be making time for Chris and not just sending gifts. But we're shown earlier that they really want to spend time with Chris, it's just their jobs are busy, only to show that they're more than willing to drop their jobs when Chris is sick. There's no consistency. I get what the show is trying to say. Spend time with family. But they say it so poorly. Finally, the main character, the person you all been waiting for, Chris Thorndike, the main character. I kid, of course. You talk with any fan of Sonic and they'll get all angry about Chris, how he ruined Sonic X, or he took the spotlight from Sonic. I will concede that the show pays a lot of attention to him, but I think the problem with him is not that he steals the spotlight, but that he's poorly written. We are told that Chris is a lonely rich kid. His parents are constantly working, he has no friends, and he lives alone in a giant mansion. That until Sonic got in his life, everything was boring. Except it's well established that his parents loved him, he goes to a regular school, he's well adjusted to his situation, and he has friends with excellent personalities. I mean, they have names. Okay, so maybe he has a point about Sonic being his first real friend. What I'm trying to say is that by the first episode, Chris has already gone through 90% of his character growth to the point he really has no problems. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of confidence at the start, and he is rude to his parents behind their backs, and those do get addressed, but everything else, the writers wrote themselves out of ideas. Let's look at a rather simple idea. Chris is the son of a rich businessman and a successful film star. This opens up some easy story prompts. Maybe the parents are afraid Chris will be kidnapped, so they have him homeschooled through tutors. This can lead to Mr. Stewart, the spy, gaining access to the Thorndike residence under the guise of a tutor. Then, a few episodes later, show that Chris is going to his first day of school. Maybe even have Mr. Stewart follow and surprise Chris that he's a new teacher. Then have Eggman hijack the school, resulting in Chris being late for home, which worries the parents. Then, once the episode is done, show that Chris is gaining new friends that don't have the middle name of the. One little change, and already we're seeing some incredible character and story development. Another issue with Chris is how self-centered he appears. Late in season 1, Chris gets worried that he will soon have to say goodbye to Sonic. Mr. Stewart even takes Chris aside and tells him that this is what growing up is like. It's like eating a candy, it's sweet and nice, but eventually will pass, but at least you have the memories. How does Chris react?
I need to fill the void!
To be fair, Chris goes ahead and accepts this reality, but then season 2 rolls around and Chris is still with Sonic, sort of undermining any character growth from season 1. They do touch on this in season 2 with the finale, but by this point it feels hollow. What I think the writers were trying to do was that when Chris stops the portal, we as the viewers are supposed to be surprised that Chris has backpedaled on so many lessons. Instead, the only feeling we get is,
I say, the spoiled rich kid is acting like a spoiled rich kid. Boo-hoo! You can't be friends with Sonic anymore! Boo-hoo!
It's pretty bad, and it doesn't get much better in Season 3. Where I think Chris works well is in Sonic Adventure 2. Using Chris as a means to help Shadow remember Maria was perhaps one of the best uses of Chris. Way better than how they used Amy in SA2. I was rather disappointed that they never made the revelation that Chris was related to Maria somehow. You know, something to acknowledge why Chris reminds Shadow of Maria. Long story short, Chris is poorly utilized. In fact, I would argue that's the main problem with the story as a whole. They have a lot of good ideas and concepts, but they never utilize them properly.
But what about presentation?
Yeah, it's not much better. Much like the story, the animation quality is like a roller coaster. It starts out strong, then dips, then gets back up, and then peters out. Then season 3 comes along and it just continues to peter out. When the show started, the animation was decent. Kind of what one expects from a decent anime. Then episode 15 hits and everything just goes downhill. What is with this episode? First it marks a decline in story and now the animation? Yeah, following episode 15 the quality dips. We see characters not colored properly, they blindly staring into distances like they're nothing but puppets, reused animation, the list goes on, and yes, much like the story, it does dip back up by season 2, but then again it goes back down again. Then you get these weird situations where they increase the animation quality to the max. They look weird and creepy and make you wonder if these scenes are where all the money went. Then you ask yourself, why did all the money go for these scenes? What's strange about this is that this show was done by TMS Entertainment. They're well known in the industry. They worked on shows like Akira. How they messed this up, I have no idea. I have heard it may have been due to outsourcing, which, fair enough. However, I shouldn't be able to pinpoint when the animation quality dips away. Voice acting is also a problem. Done by 4Kids Entertainment, the voice acting is what you expect from 4Kids. It's terrible and at best mixed in quality. At the low end of the spectrum, you have Chris Griffith and Amy Pallant, the voices of Sonic and Tails respectfully. Their voices just don't fit. Griffith has no range as Sonic, making the character sound flat, while Pallant makes Tails sound too much like a little girl. In the more neutral side of things, you have Dan Green as Knuckles. Good actor, great for the character. Kind of wish he did more with the voice. Same with Suzanne Goldish as Chris. Good voice, kind of wish she was voicing Tails. At the higher end of the spectrum we have Lisa Ortiz, Kathleen Delaney, and oddly Chris Griffith. Lisa does a good job as Amy. She really gets the emotions of the character and is, in my opinion, one of the better performances of Amy. Despite being a poor fit for Sonic, Griffith did well as Shadow, though it can be weird at times hearing Shadow and Sonic talk together. Kathleen Delaney was perhaps the best of the trio with Rouge, giving the character a sort of seductive voice. Oddly, fans dislike her Rouge, citing she made Rouge sound way too old. Age in the Sonic universe is weird, but you can't talk about voice acting in Sonic X without talking about Mike Pollock. The best voice in the entire series is Mike Pollock's Eggman. What I think makes the voice work is the combination of comedy and seriousness. Mike Pollock slides up and down the ranges, creating an Eggman that is comic in one scene, then serious the next. There's a reason why at the time of writing, Mike Pollock is still the voice of Eggman. But that's just it. Mike Pollock was the diamond in the rough for the voice cast. For the most part, the voice acting is not great. And then we have the music. I'm going to level with all of you. I was planning on rewatching the entirety of Sonic X from episodes 1 to 78. I really was. I even bought the Blu-ray. But not even one episode in, I had to stop. It's not the voice acting. I can tolerate 4Kids voice acting. It was the music. 4Kids would constantly add in some song or jingle, often ruining the mood. It's like they didn't understand silence. It's all in your face. Just listen to a snippet of this opening. What's worse is the leitmotifs. Just about every character or scene has some leitmotiv or jingle that's associated with them. It's fine some of the time, but when they do it all the time, it just drains you. And not only that, some of these jingles are bad. Not bad in a music kind of way, just the implication they have. Listen to Tanaka's. Or Ella's. Tell me, 4Kids, did we really need the ethnic sound effects? Really? Did we really need them? Now, to be fair, they did do some things right, like Eggman's leitmotiv and song. I thought it was okay, kinda wish they didn't do it so often. And then you have Rouge's, where whenever she appears, the music just goes... But yeah, much like the voice acting, it's bad. Ultimately, I decided just to rewatch the show in Japanese because I had heard so many good things about it, and yeah, it's good. Way better than the 4Kids dub. From the music, to the writing, to the voice acting, the Japanese dub is better, hands down. Unfortunately, getting a hold of the Japanese dub is rather difficult. I, for instance, bought the Blu-ray, hoping it would have it, but nope, it's just the 4Kids dub. Word of caution, though. The Japanese dub is somewhat raunchy. There's a tendency to curse every now and then, and they do make some adult humor here and there. My favorite is when Rouge is arrested. In the English dub, she calls Topaz old, but in the Japanese dub, she makes a BDSM joke. But by episode 15, most of this adult humor goes away. I was also not impressed with Eggman's theme song or voice actor. They make him sound like he's a generic Power Rangers villain. It's a far cry from Mike Pollock, and you know what? This is the perfect time to transition to the production side of Sonic X. Like I said, Sonic X was produced by TMS Entertainment. Apparently, Sega commissioned the studio to create Sonic X as a means to increase the Sonic brand in Japan. That might sound weird to hear, especially since Sega is a Japanese brand, but understand, Sonic has never really been big in Japan. Just look up the tie-in media. Up until this point, Sonic has had 2 TV shows, 2 comic book series, an appearance on a Russian game show, a French war crime, an appearance in the Macy's Day Parade, and a stage show in Australia. In Japan, an OVA that went nowhere and a statue in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, kind of understandable why Sega would want to increase their image in Japan. Suffice to say, they failed. Badly. You know Season 3? Yeah, that never aired in Japan until 2020 as a means to coincide with the Sonic movie release, or it would have if a certain event wasn't going on. As for overseas, Sonic X did surprisingly well. Don't believe me? Here's a map of all the countries where the show aired. Yeah, that's a lot of blue. Part of this is due to 4Kids, a company many anime fans would love to see burn in the pits of Tartarus. But as they say, that's a story for another time. Soon after Sonic X aired in Japan, 4Kids picked up the license. What would follow is quite the production cycle. So, for those who don't know, 4Kids is a localization company. Now, you might be saying, oh, that must mean they translate the show for us English speakers, and you would be partially correct. See, 4Kids was in the business of taking shows and making them presentable to US viewers. This involves editing the show to remove elements that makes no sense to an American audience, and then replacing them with things that make sense to said audience, specifically an audience that would watch the show on kids' television. The problem is that 4Kids was infamous for this. An example of the infamy includes the Jelly Donuts incident for Pokemon, airbrushing out guns in Yu-Gi-Oh!, and providing the English dub for One Piece. A dub so bad that to this day, One Piece has not recovered despite switching dubbing companies. Like I said before, a story for another time. what about Sonic X? Well, when the show was picked up, 4Kids got a hold of a Japanese script, had it translated, and had editors go through the translation to make a script that was presentable for American audiences, and that would also conform to Fox broadcast standards. This is why a number of adult jokes were removed, though oddly jokes about the fourth wall were also done away with for some reason. It's here we also see the removal of elements such as Tails' love with Cosmo. Apparently one of the mandates was that characters couldn't start relationships. Odd. Another team would then go through the show and edit out any problematic scenes. For Sonic X, this mostly entailed changing things like alcohol to juice or removing cigarettes. Infamously, this included the Molly scene. For context, there's an episode where a resistance fighter named Molly is fighting the Metarex. She actually reminds Shadow of Maria. In the English dub, it's stated that she flies off to continue the fight with the Metarex alone. In the Japanese dub... Yep, can't show death due to Fox broadcast standards. Side note, you might be inclined to think that this editing also include removing any written English, especially since Alfred R. Kahn, the former CEO of 4Kids, made the comment that kids don't read. In reality, this was because the masters 4Kids received from TMS already had the English removed. Apparently TMS had a tendency to do this from time to time from what I've read. Part of this localization treatment included removing the music and adding in music made in-house. This was done for two reasons. The first is to avoid paying royalties, and the second is to collect royalties when the show airs overseas. This unfortunately means we miss out on hearing Live and Learn during the SA2 arc. Finally comes the voice acting, and oh boy does Sonic X have a story to tell. Now, you may be wondering, why didn't 4Kids just use the cast from the video games? You know, they're well liked, well known, it keeps the brand consistent. The thing is, you have to understand a practice 4Kids had, and that was to hire only New York actors, and to understand this practice, you need to understand how voice acting in the US works. If you want to get into voice acting, you pretty much have to go to California because, well, that's where all the work is done, or have dual Canadian citizenship because of a Canadian broadcast law. 4Kids was unique because it was located in New York, and therefore an East Coast operation. In fact, they were the only East Coast operation for a time. Most of the video game cast was located in California, and because of this distance, 4Kids did not take them. Interestingly, Ryan Drummond, the voice actor of Sonic in the video games, offered to relocate at his own expense. Nothing came of it, and 4Kids would end up using their own cast members that they had operated with before on numerous other projects. But the story does not end there. You may have heard the rumor that because of the death of Dean Bristow, Sega would replace the well-beloved Sonic Adventure cast for the 4Kids cast. The reality is actually much more fantastical. The story goes that after wrapping up on Sonic Heroes, Dean Bristow, the voice of Eggman, contacted Sega about reprising his role as Eggman for the then upcoming Shadow the Hedgehog. He was informed that the casting was already complete and that the 4Kids cast had replaced them. Yeah, none of the game cast knew that they were being replaced. Anyway, shortly after, Dean Bristow would pass away due to an unrelated heart failure. So, yeah, bad timing caused this rumor. But the story does not end there, for guess who decided to change the voices? If you answered Sega, you would be technically correct. It was Sega, alright. Sega of Japan. Yeah, they were the ones that went ahead with this voice change. Sega of America had nothing to do with this. Once production was finished, 4Kids would air Sonic X to great ratings, which led to yet another rumor. I'll be brief with this. You know Season 3? Well, there's apparently a rumor that has circulated that 4Kids and or a French studio commissioned the third season because of how popular the show was. The reality was that Season 3 was already made, it just never aired on Japanese television due to poor ratings. One final rumor was the possibility of a fourth season that dealt with this character called Nazo. This came about because when 4Kids aired the finale, they called it a season finale and not a series finale. As for Nazo, apparently he was an early production still of Supersonic from what I've read. So yeah, quite the production history on this show. You can practically write a book on everything from the rumors, the censorship, to the voice actors. But yeah, that's Sonic X. Quite the ride, and if you're wondering if I recommend the show, well, that depends. If you're young or just wanting to get into Sonic, I do recommend watching Sonic X. It's easy to get a hold of. I mean, Seasons 1 and 2 are available on the official TMS YouTube channel, and as of the publishing of this review, the entire series is on Netflix. And if you really want to go out and splurge, there is the Blu-ray collection done by Discotech. It doesn't have the Japanese dub and it's only in standard definition, but, you know, it is an option. However, if you're an older fan or if you've already seen the show, I can't recommend the English dub. try and get a hold of the Japanese dub. It's far better. Unfortunately, it's also hard to find. I'd initially hoped to watch the entire show in Japanese just to see what was changed. However, it proved to be very difficult to watch it. I have heard it's available on Hulu, but I haven't checked. My final thought is this. I can't say I disliked the show. I loved it as a child. It was one of the main reasons I woke up on Saturday mornings. But as an adult, I just can't stand it. It's not a show I can go back to. At least not the English dub. Maybe if I have children, I'll go introduce them to the show that was a part of my childhood. But I think I'll hold on to the memories. Unlike Chris, who decided not to. See you all again, folks. I don't know what I'll do next in the review. Suggestions in the comics are always welcome. And do remember to subscribe. And you know what? DJ, play me off. This is better than the European opening.
Moving at speed of sound, they try quickest hedgehog around. Found ourselves in a situation, stuck in a new location.